Hello, my name is Quentin Mayo. I'm from the University of North Texas. I'm one of the lead developers of Bugcatcher, and Bugcatcher essentially is a system that's designed to automate the creation and management of software test competitions. And I'm here to go over or do a little overview over the competition page. This is essentially when you're in the competition, and given this competition is already active, and I want to go through some of the functions and basically how do you compete. So, in this competition, we are given requirements and want to input test input output such that execute buggy sections of code. And on our left-hand side, before we go on the top leaderboard, essentially, or far all the information we have for users, we can see all the problems we have in this competition. In this case, we have 12 problems. So let's click binary, which is always showing, but we want to basically go through the process. We click view binary, and from here we can see information on testing the problem, test information, and we see our test output, input, success, coverage, and we can see the source code. And on our left hand side we see our requirements. If we want to go back to that screen we had before where it just showed us basically problem information, we click problem information and we're back at the same page. But in this case, we want to test the problem. So let's assume we have little to no experience in coding and we are not familiar with programming in Java. In this case, this is a based and nice tool 5 that outputs 101. Now, the administrator can choose whether or not to show this tooltip, but in this case, we want to make it a little easier for us. So we want to test this problem. So we want to input some decimal and output some binary number. So our goal, again to repeat, is that we want to input some test input and output to execute the buggy section of code given the requirements. So let's assume that we want to do some willy-nilly. You know it doesn't work. Let's say 5. And of course, we're not going to, for this example and this demonstration video, we're not going to go over essentially conversion probably, but 5 should give us 101. Now let's enter some bad input. So let's say 101, 1, which is obviously wrong, but we want to run this test. And you have a nice loading screen and it tells us bad input and bad output. Success is none. Now, given that case that we enter bad input, we cannot generate code coverage. And keep in mind, as I said before, code coverage might disable. And as far as the manager's side, they can decide to enable some features, turn them on, turn them off. And we can go click on extra features, which we get in detail, and we can view our code history. But for now, let's focus on this page. So let's say you want to input 5 and actually create input, and it should give us 101. Let's run this test. And we enter the input and it says we found a bug. So when we find a bug, we can go up and we can see one bug fix, and we haven't fixed any problems completely. Sections that we're basically interacting with. So we see these lines given this source code was executed. So let's try a different value. So if we had 1, it should yield us 1. Because the binary version of 1 is also 1. Sorry, the decimal version is 1 is also 1. And so we found another bug. So, as that you get the flow, since you want to input some input and output that are valid, the buggy set. Now, let's say you're very curious and you want to get into more into lining, we can actually look at the source code and somewhat highlighted version that gives us maybe some more information about what's going on. So now we can actually look at the source code where all the lines are clearly marked and highlighted. So maybe you can use that information to determine what areas are causing issues. As far as bug detected, we can click before we get into bug tech, let's take problems history. So essentially, every time we find a bug or want to see information about a problem, maybe we can lead to more information about finding bug code, kind of similar to running on your own system. We can see what input we had, what's our test output that we had, and it shows us if we found a bug at that point. Now, one thing to note is that the colors do show a difference if we did find a bug or didn't find a bug. In given case, when we found bugs in H1, it highlighted green. So also, next thing is we can see our bugs detected. And given this point, it shows the highlighted lines in where we found a bug, and every line where we found the bug is highlighted. So you can use that information again to try to test through and see can you find more bugs in the code. Now it doesn't tell you how many bugs depending on your version, but given this one, let's see, comes to running, it tells us how many bugs we have here. So it says we have 2 out of 4 bugs, and we can see our test input, our test output, success, and code coverage. So in our test history, it gives us a comprehensive review of all the problems. So let's say we want to try calculator to beta us for the functionality of it. The calculator says the program is running super calculator. It takes input as a form 1 plus 1, which either can be plus, minus, over, times, and it outputs essentially outputs the result of that. So in this case, again, let's try 2 times 3.4 to be a little different, and it should give us 6.8. Let's run this test, and notice how we found a bug. Now let's change the input around some and see if we get to the point where we don't find a bug. So let's try 2.2, and that should give us 4. Run this test. Found a new bug. Great. Let's try 2.3, which should give us 4.6. Try again. Found a new bug. And let's try 2.1. Give us 4.2. And this is where we start finding bugs. So essentially, our test input and test output is valid, but we didn't find any bugs, and the code coverage is yes. So you can go down here and see the lines we covered. And as previously, we look at extra features. We can see our source code, which is nicely highlighted for us, and we can see our problem test history, where we see information covering this problem that our test is rewritten, and in our bugs detected, we can see the highlight lines correspond to the bug detected. And keep in mind, we were into input involving the multiplication operation. So you notice how there is an error here at one point in time. Likewise, there's an error here at one point in time. The bugs we find are corresponding to, again, the corresponding issues they had in the code. So as features, also view our test history. Now, our test history, we can see all the code, and this is what I really wanted to get to. So essentially, here we can view all the code where we had bugs at. And right now it's only show calculator, but if we utilize the arrows below here, we can see more bugs that are in the system. So we can view our team, right? And this shows our team. Currently, there's only one member here, which is me, which is okay for its demonstration purposes. And we view statistics. Statistics shows what people are doing currently. We can stop updating, so this is automatically updating to the person at the top. So you can see that somebody found 9 bugs and 5 problems fixed. So people only fixed 1 problem, and we should be somewhere at the bottom. At the bottom, since we have fixing problems, but we did find 1 bug. Actually, several bugs to be correct. So we're at 5, so we're a little bit higher than that. And we also do team chat. It was more than 1 person that we are working together. We're not close to each other. We can chat to other members, so we can say hello to whoever, and whoever is for our team currently that's in the chat can see our messages, and we can essentially interact with different problems. Now, I did overlook the leaderboard, and I want to touch on that a little bit. So on the top, which never changes, you can see our competition. You see the time remaining in competition. We can see our problems we have in it, buggy lines. We can see the number of clean lines. And we can see the average the average amount of bugs per line in that. And we see the number of bugs we fixed, number of problems fixed, and the top teams currently in the competition. Now, one thing to note again is that the administrator has the ability to disable any one of these options. So essentially, he can decide to not show you the problem, or maybe not show you the buggy lines, or maybe decide not to show you the bugs fixed or problems fixed. So you have to more so guess, maybe do your own calculation to determine how well you're doing. Also, you can decide to disable team leaderboard to have it more as an individual experience. So once you finish content with all of our problems, we can exit out the competition easily by clicking our name and click log out, and proceeds us back with this page.